Alright, this is part 2 of the video of my Facebook post after Logan's death. I don't know if I told y'all earlier, I'm always a fucking mess, but I'm even more of a mess now because I've been outside bottle feeding baby goats and putting up horses, and then the dogs jumped on me and I'm all scratched up and shit like that. Alright, the last post I talked about was January 7th. This post again is January 7th, later. I don't think I'm strong enough for this. The days and the nights all drag and blend together. Logan, come back to me. Tell me what you need. What can I do differently? There are not enough tears. Logan, help me. Like I said, there's a lot of posts in here I've skipped because they were kind of like those, like, I'm fucking, it was crazy. The first, I barely crawled out of bed for 3.5 months. And it was bad. Alright, by February 9th, so what's that? Month and a half almost after his death. Yeah, a month and a half after his death. Anger would start setting in. Things he talked about in his note, things I knew had, gone on in his life, and he was bullied. The school did nothing. And in grade school, god damn, oh my god, oh. Okay. So February 9th, 2016, he's been gone about a month and a half. You all won. Logan was frequently bullied in school in both Wyoming County, West Virginia, and later in Peru, Indiana, both by some students and a few staff. This was done because he was small, different, and from an unimportant family. Logan was lied about and lied to. Who cared? It was just Logan, this weird little kid. Well, I cared. And as school staff and administration, you were supposed to care. Logan was not mean. He was severely bipolar. One psychiatrist said Logan, and that's Dr. Miliani said this, said Logan was the most severely bipolar patient he had ever seen in 35 years of being a psychiatrist. Logan was 11 when the doctor said this. Logan was actually a very sweet, bright, and caring person. Logan would stop and feed and occasionally bring home stray dogs and cats. Who cared? It was just a stray animal. Logan cared. If I was in bed with the flu, Logan would come in the room every 30 to 60 minutes with something for me to drink, and he'd take my temperature. It was this kind-heartedness that helped him to be bullied, which I see now being pretty active in support groups and stuff. This is common among lots of the people that, especially in my experience of talking to literally thousands of moms and, and a few dads that have lost kids to suicide at ages from, most of us are 11 to 24. Or most of them, it seems like. As school administrators, it was your job to know Logan, to realize he needed encouragement and support, not detention or in-school suspension. All detention or school suspension did was make him feel less included in the world. Who cares if he feels like an outcast? It's just Logan. I cared. He had such potential to make a positive impact on the world one day, but he was beaten. He was sad, and he was overlooked. He tried to do the right things, but sometimes it was hard. If people had taken the time, they would have seen the bright, caring child that I saw. Logan was tired. Tired of trying in a world which he was automatically accused of anything bad that happened. Tired of feeling weird, small, and insignificant to most people. Where were the people to help him across the road? Like he did the turtles. Where was his glass of juice? He gave up. He tried, but he got tired, and he couldn't go on anymore. The bullies won. They go on. They go to the mall. They go to the movies. They go to bed at night and sleep well with no regard for the pain that they caused another person. It wasn't a breakup with a girlfriend or a drug problem or the loss of a loved one that caused his suicide. It was life. Life in such an uncaring world was more than he could do. Who cares? I care. I was Logan's mom and I fucking care. You know, I don't blame the bullies. I've had several children apologize to me that, you know, Logan would be 19 now. He would have just turned 19 last month if he was still alive. And I've had several kids, you know, a few years older that bullied him that have apologized to me. And I tell them, you didn't know. You know, you were 11, 12 years old, sometimes 8, 9 years old. They didn't know. They didn't know. But the school administration, they fucking knew. They should have done something. They are the ones I blame. They did nothing. This is what they get paid to fucking do. And they still didn't do it. Anyway, next post. February 19th, 10 days later, 2016. On 12/15, there was a Republican debate. Logan wasn't going to be discharged from the hospital until 12/18, so he insisted I record this debate for him. So 2 months ago, I laid in my bed with him for 4.5 hours watching this debate, while he frequently paused the TV to either agree or disagree with the answer the candidate had just given. I don't understand why he was so adamant that I record this and watch it with him, knowing he had already written his will and suicide note, knowing he would not be here to see the outcome of the election. I'm sorry to vent on here all the time, but this whole situation just seems to make no sense. I went to the hospital that is about a fourth to a half a mile from where he did this, and this is the hospital that they took him to immediately. And I got his medical records from that day. I read them all last night. He arrived there at 4:27 p.m. and was put on a helicopter at 4:55 to go to the large trauma center in Richmond. They had called MCV in Richmond to accept him and send the helicopter to pick him up within 1 to 2 minutes of his arrival in the ER. They knew. I have spoken to the detectives, the pathologist that did the autopsy, every doctor that walked into neuro ICU for those 3 days that we were there, every witness in the area it happened in, and I am now starting to get medical records and autopsy reports. After his death at the hospital and funeral home, within minutes of his arrival there, I all but flipped him upside down checking his body. Well, I mean, that's a fucking term. I didn't flip him fucking upside down, but it's like, I checked his incision line to see if the medical examiner had opened, you know, because they had cut him from here down to like his pubic bone to take his organs for donation, and I wanted to see if the medical examiner had opened that back up, and they hadn't. It was the sutures the hospital had put in. You know, just shit like this. This is my child. How can he be laying here fucking refrigerated in a fucking body bag? How is that possible? I know a lot of people think this is crazy, but it's like I can't get enough information about what happened and when. Where was he for the several hours between when he left our house and when he did it? Because it's only about 25 minutes maybe to the psych hospital where he did it. I don't know why I needed to see the vehicle or his clothes or medical records or wounds or any of it, but I have to. On the night of 12/20, Logan sat in the floor with me for several hours and helped me wrap Christmas presents. He seemed happy. He talked about the future, both the near future and far into the future. He spoke with optimism. The note had already been written for 2 days. This would be our last night. He spoke on the phone with his dad about Christmas presents. He spoke with his brother, Cooper, about how he couldn't wait. Cooper was going to be stationed for like 8 or 10 weeks at a base not far from our house for some training. And Logan talked to him about he couldn't wait for Cooper to be there so we could hang out with him and go to the movies and go to the mall that following March. But, I mean, Logan knew at that point that he wasn't going to be there in March. He knew what he was doing the next day. He was going to be stationed about 25 minutes away from us for 8 weeks. I know I will never really understand all of this, but I don't understand how he showed no signs, but obviously knew he was going to do it. And I found also that's really common with a lot of kids, especially this age, that they show no signs. My dogs are going crazy. My husband must be home from work. They show no signs on the sign list they tell you to look for. But those are the ones that are generally successful on their first attempt. And males are much more successful on their first attempt because males shoot theirself and hang theirself. That's their preferred things that I have seen. And they don't tell anybody. They don't send texts. They don't tell anybody. They go, they do their thing after they've made up their mind, and that's it. All right, I'm going to get off here because my wonderful husband just walked in the door and my dogs are going crazy. Bye.